Hey everyone, welcome to the workshop. And just to start with the introduction, I'm Yash. I'm a chartered accountant and currently in second year of my MBA program at IIM Ahmedabad. Uh, Prior to starting MBA, I was with PwC for about 2.5 years in their M&A division at Bombay office. And for my summer internship in IME, I interned with Bain and Company and also got an PPO from there. So, coming to my interest in presentations, I've again been quite passionate about making slides due to my experience at PwC and Bain. And I have therefore been conducting workshops on it in the recent past. Coming to this workshop, I think it is very important for you all to understand what you gain out of this workshop. And you must all know that the increasing number of recruiters are looking at your skills to present the data. And why exactly so? So you may go and work in any department or field, say, consulting, finance, marketing. But the end output of your work in all these fields generally tend to be in the form of PowerPoint presentations. So you may have done a hell of a job in analyzing something, but if you do not really present your data well, the impact of your analysis will be lost. And and this fact has not gone unnoticed by the recruiters, which is why they are looking for this skill in the candidates. So I hope that this workshop teaches you how to achieve that skill and how to get your messages right in the slides. There's also one more request which I have from all of you, which is that please be interactive as much as possible. You will gain the most out of it if you ask questions and interact with me the most here. So let's first start with a question here. Let's say you are given this slide and you are asked to say that what problems do you think in this particular slide. Can all of you take some time and then help me out understanding that what would be the defects in this slide? You can raise your hand on the Zoom and then we'll ask you individually. Any thoughts, folks? We have one from Harsha. Yes, Harsha, go ahead.
Yeah, so the graph kind of looks a bit cluttered over here. And also when you're looking at the data, I mean, what was written on the side, like the font is different. So like, I don't know if you're trying to like emphasize on the fact that it increased in the third quarter, but like it still looks a bit weird.
Very good. That's definitely a mistake here. Umang, you have something to say?
Yeah, the text and the graph are not aligned. So the graph is much below the text, and also most of the slide is empty. Like there's a lot of white space. So that is definitely aesthetically not pleasing at all. And whatever Harsha said was also yeah.
Again, those 2 points make a lot of sense. Mukta, you have something to say?
Just to add, I don't understand why it needs to be a 3D graph, because that just makes understanding the data a little harder. It makes it unclear. So yeah, that's it.
Excellent point over there as well. Do we have any other points to make? Nika, I hope I got your name right.
Yeah. So my biggest point was the fact that here you have something that you're trying to communicate through the slide. You're trying to say that the income from the East increased in the third quarter, etc. And if that's the major takeaway that you want, and you want the graph to back up that data, this really doesn't come through in the graph itself. So if that's what you're trying to emphasize, it's not clear from the graph at all.
Amazing point, right? So I don't see any more hands up, so I think that's it. And guys, what you said make a lot of sense and are in fact bang on points over there. So let's see what are actually the problems which are coming here, right? So First very big mistake that you see here is the title itself. You are talking about income distribution, but what exactly do you mean by income distribution, right? We'll cover in the slides ahead that your action titles should convey a story. And right now, just by reading the word income distribution does not convey anything to me. Secondly, as you all mentioned, the graph is in a 3D format and it is quite cluttered. Now, generally, we do not use 3D graphs because it creates a lot of confusion, right? So, tend to use the normal 2D graph, and that will also do your entire work. Secondly, if you look at the colors, the north color is white, because of which it again becomes very difficult to read the graph. If you look at income, the scale basically, we do not have the data on what unit this entire data is in. Is it in millions? Is it in thousands? Again, we do not know the source of the data. Remember that source of the data is quite important in your presentations. So you should have source of this data. And again, when we come to the body of the slide, you will see that there are various differences in the font size. What we are trying to convey out of here is not very appropriately said out. It just writes out some pointers that, you know, income from East has increased in third quarter, but there is really no coherent story. So this kind of gives you an idea, right, that a very simple slide like this can also have a lot of problems here. And keeping this in mind, let's go to this particular workshop on how you can improve on all these parameters here. The way I have structured this workshop is in 4 metrics. One would be understanding what the fundamental is for the slide making. The second one is what are the basic elements that you should keep in mind again when you are designing the slide. Third, the tips and tricks that you should keep in mind when you are writing the slides or creating the body of the slide. And fourth is just after you have achieved all of this, how you can actually make your slides look better. So starting with the fundamentals, right? It is I think it is very important for all of you to know that there are 2 clear pointers here, and that is storylining and designing of the slides, right? Now, what exactly is storylining? It means that whenever you want to, whatever you want to present in your slides, it should form one coherent story to the audience. And why so? Because stories are easy to remember and gets across your message quite effectively. How you will achieve the storylining is something called as action titles, which we'll cover in the next few slides. But keep this in mind that if your slides do not convey a story, your audience will not be able to remember it. And the other important thing is that often your audience does not have time to go through the entire slide. Your slide may be very data heavy or something, focused on a lot of processes, but sometimes the audience is just interested in outcome. And therefore your storylining should be such that, just by reading the titles also, the audience should be able to get the gist of it. The second important point is designing the slides. Now, contrary to again what a lot of people think, the designing of slides do not start at your computer screen. It actually starts with a pen and a paper. You first need to structure your slide, on a paper, and kind of think that how do I want my slide to look like, right? What exactly segment, what part of the data should come in which segment of the slide. And once you have that entire sketch ready, you basically replicate it on your PowerPoint. Fair enough. Do we have any questions till now? All right. So the next one, that what are the basic slide elements that you need to keep in mind? Generally, there are 4 basic elements. First being the action title, the second one being the body of the slide, the third one being the takeaway box, and the fourth one is the footer. What we'll do is we'll look at each of these elements in quite detail and talk about it. Coming to the action title. Now, I've been emphasizing on this quite lately that, you should have an action title, but how exactly do you create an action title? Imagine yourself as a newspaper editor and think of it that you have to make a headline for your story. How exactly will you do it, right? Typically, when we read the newspaper, we often do not read the entire text, but we read the headlines, and that in fact gives us the entire gist. So always make sure that your story, your titles create a story. And again, very important to remember that each slide should only have one message. Often we share the slide because we think that the slide does not have enough data, and because of which 2 or 3 messages come out of a single slide, which then again distorts the entire story. Instead, what you should do is just keep one message per slide, and because you have one message per slide, you will also have one title. Fair enough? Let's take some examples here. If I mention something as manufacturing options, does it give me any insight? Not really. But if I say something as of the 7 options analyzed, offshore manufacturing shows the most potential, that is slightly better, right? Because I'm able to understand that what I'm trying to tell through a particular slide. And an even better way of representing a slide would be saying that, moving manufacturing offshore is likely to improve my margins by 20%. Now, you will see that the even better column will help you understand what your slide really says. Another example could be, let's say, about the operating expenditure. I can probably write it as, OPEX has risen as a percentage of sales, and that is much better than just writing a description of operating expenses. And an even better way of writing this could be, OPEX tripled in 2 years. Now, I have a kind of a short assignment for you guys because we have covered a bit of something on the slides part, and I just want you to get a feel before we get onto the further slides. So this data is regarding the operational level data for banking, and again for the years 2009 to 2013. So why don't we all just take some like 3 to 5 minutes and kind of think that if you had to create a slide on this data, how will you actually create it? So just think about it. Think about what we have been discussing till now. You have this data with you. You have to write a title for the slide. You have to present this data. How exactly will you do this? Umang has raised his hand. I'm not very sure whether he raised it right now or was it raised from the previous time.
No, that was from the previous time.
Okay. Umang, do you have any thoughts on how you can present this data? It does not have to be bang on, just some intuitively, if you want to, present this data, how you will do it.
I mean, some kind of graph would be good with a zero base, and I can see mark that I don't understand why marketing spend is negative, but yeah, I was thinking of some kind of graph.
Okay, we have some raised hands. Arjun, go ahead.
Yeah, from what I could see is that the first column is in percentage change. The rest are raw numbers.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can change the raw numbers into percentage?
That makes sense. Yes, we can do that. So, okay, let's do it element wise, right? What do you think is the broader theme of this slide? What is the insight that you are getting out of this data? And let me just quickly also give one clarification, which Umang also raised, that why is the marketing spend in negative? This is basically the data for a cumulative year, and if you notice the title of the slide, it says change in banking operational data, right? So it means that throughout 2009 to 2013, there has been a decrease of 4.5 billion marketing spend at, let's say, PO Bank. So can we think of what is the broader insight? And just a quick hint that you may also want to focus on the years. That may give some hint to you. All right. So Okay, we have something in chat. Uh, Samyukta, you actually have answered the question, and it is the financial crisis which has led to all of this decline, right? So, if I had to present this data, what I could have done is this. So I basically say that these are all my banks. What is the change in branch network? What is the change in the employee number? And what is the change in marketing spend? I think somebody mentioned about the clustered bar graph, and again, that is right. You basically show a horizontal chart, and also remember, there is no one way to present this data. This data could have also been represented in a much better way than what I have represented it right now. But this is one of the model ways of doing it. Now, if I had to, come up with an analysis on what is this left segment showing, that there's a change in branch network. There's a subheading which I can use, that there has been a pan-sector decline in the branch network. That works. On the second front, I can say that the employee strength has been lowered across all the banks except for the OTP. And on the third front, we can say that the marketing spend has been reduced across all the banks. And now, using all these subheaders, what you can do is you can create a broader action title which says that financial crisis has triggered a cut down on fixed costs across banks, because you will see that all of these three costs are actually fixed costs in nature, right? So now you can see that how efficiently this tabular slide we have converted into slides with insights. And this is precisely something which your recruiters will also be looking for. Now, I was also told that you guys should have some hands-on experience on creating this charts. So why don't we do that? Why don't you guys all open up your PowerPoint, and then let's just try and make one of these charts, right? So, okay, I think there has been some problem here. Yep. Arjun, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I just.
You're on mute. Yeah.
No, I didn't raise my hand. That was a problem.
Oh, all right. So let's say if I want to create this kind of chart, what you can do is you go to the Insert tab on your PowerPoint. There is an option called Chart. Go there. There you will see that there are various categories of charts which you can use for representing a particular data. What we can use over here is the clustered bar chart. You select this particular chart, and you will see that all you'll have to do is then fill up this series. So you can see that category actually represents the banks that we are talking about here. And because we do not have more than one series per chart, all you can do is you can simply remove this particular data point, make this one, and then just fill up the data here. This could be, let's say, -10, -20, -25, -40, right? So you will get your chart here. Again, I'm not replicating the exact numbers here just for the sake of brevity, but you can see that you can create a slide like this very efficiently. What you could have done otherwise also, let's see, there are various options that are available here. If you didn't want to make a bar chart, you could have probably gone with a clustered column chart, right? Generally, we avoid using pie charts because it does not give a lot of insights in such cases. And you again have a lot of categories to use from. At the is a link to a course on Udemy. And basically all those workshops kind of also help you understand that what kind of chart you should use for representing what kind of data. So that also should be helpful to you in that case. Hope this is clear. Do you guys have any questions on this particular slide? I think Mukta has raised a hand. I just saw it. Mukta, go ahead.
So I just had one question.
Yeah.
Since you talked about one slide, one message, should
Yeah.
we put these in 3 different slides, or how do we exactly decide that this needs to come under one slide?
So you could have represented this on 3 slides as well. But think about it, that what is the overarching message here? The message was that there has been a cut down in the fixed cost, right? Let's say if you only had a message on, you know, how the branch network has been impacted, then it does not make sense to have the employee strength and marketing spent on the same slide. But because you are talking about a much higher level metric of fixed cost, that's why we have included all these 3 metrics. Now, for example, if there was also one more element which related to variable cost. Now, variable cost in a case of bank could be, let's say, interest expense, right? So in the case of interest expense, it does not make sense to have it on this particular slide because again, it is a variable cost. So hope you get the gist of it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So moving on. Yeah. Again, so that was about making the slide. Now let us get some examples on how you will actually create the subheading and the action title, right? So you have 2 charts in front of you, and the left side chart actually talks about risk cost, which is nothing but the non-performing assets for a particular bank. And the second one shows the 2 metrics of your operating income and your NP. So if I had to give a subheading to the left side of the chart, what according to you would that be? Think about the various slide elements which are chart elements which are mentioned there. There is a certain element called average of the banking sector mentioned. There is a separator in the chart. Do you think you can derive some insights out of that? Okay, we have some insights. Arjun, go ahead.
Yeah, the 4 banks seem to have a higher percentage of non-performing assets in the year 2003 than the bank and than the industry average.
Perfect. And any idea about the second one? Okay. Harsha. Yes, Harsha.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm right, but there seems to be a division between above average and below average. Is that it with the vertical line?
Okay. Fair enough. So if I had to name the subheading, you will see that there's one thing which Arjun mentioned, which is again a perfect insight over there, that these 4 banks have at an average level or above average NPA levels. But let's say, so I could also portray that in my subheading, or I could also say that these 2 banks have more than 4x the average of the entire sector. Now it really depends on the context of the case, and of course, because you guys do not have the full context of the case, so it's fine. But these are 2 metrics, these are 2 ways which you can show this subheading. The second subheading, we can also show that, um, uh, at the same level of risk cost, OTP Bank has much better performance in terms of operating income as compared to the other 2 banks. And that is what we can write in our subheading, that OTP Bank has a better risk cost to operating income ratio as compared to its peers. And an overall title which we get out of this is that CIB Bank has the highest risk cost in the sector, significant gap from the market leader, which is the OTP Bank, which you can see here that we have the OTP Bank here and we have CIB, and this is the overarching insight which I'm getting here. So now, enough of asking questions from you guys. Moving to the next part is the body of the slide. Now we have a much more detailed discussion on this in the segment of the content orientation, which I showed you in the agenda. But just to give you a brief flavor here, your body of the slide and your action title should always be correlated, right? You cannot have something written in the body of the slide and completely different written in the action title, because then it just does not fit. So have a correlation between what you're writing in the title and the body of the slide. We'll also talk about when to use the tables and when to use charts. And yeah, the body of the slide is basically the meat of your entire slide, where you will basically justify what you are writing in your title. The third one is basically the takeaway box. Now, what exactly is a takeaway box? It is basically a conclusion or a connector to your next slide. Most likely you use it to derive the conclusion out of whatever data you have presented in your slide. And the example of that could be like this, let's say I've given you the slide where it says that there's something called as Maastricht criteria in Europe, which is a regulation which needs to be taken care of while deciding the budget deficit. So we have this slide which says that, although the budget deficit is close to this criteria, the public debt is above 80%. So here I can derive a takeaway box or a connector for the next slide, where I can say that, at this level of debt, it is the state will be unable to sustain the incentivization of an economy. So I think a lot of people also have doubt regarding what exactly is the difference between your action title and your takeaway box, because again, you are deriving sort of conclusions in both places. The difference is that in the title slide, you are basically explaining what is happening in the body of the slide. So it is like explaining the process. In the takeaway box, you explain the outcome, or the so what of the slide, that all right, you have told me that this is the data, but what do I do with this data? It's something which you go ahead and write in the takeaway box. The final element for any slide is basically footer. And let me tell you that footer is the most ignored element in any particular slide, because people do not consider it important. But make sure that whenever you are creating any slide, and particularly when it is written alongside, charts and numbers, it is very important to give the source of that data. So use your footer for writing the source. Use your footer for explaining any assumptions or calculations which you have made. And of course, the other housekeeping, such as the page number, the logo, that can be used for the footer as well. What I have done here is that I have created a laundry list for all of you to just keep in mind whenever you create a slide. Whenever you keep this checklist with you, I'm pretty sure that you are not going to miss out on any slide element. For example, if you are creating a chart, it is very necessary that you name the axis, you name the labels, you also have the legends written, and you also have units written over there. Similarly, if you have explained, if you have written any abbreviation, it is necessary that you point that out in your footer. What is the full form of that abbreviation? Excuse me. And also, when all of you go into the corporate world, you will see that the file name is the most contentious issue, because you will have a lot of versions. So make sure that you name your file very well. You name it with the date and the version number. This is again a housekeeping exercise, but something which helped me a lot during my work experience as well. So I'm just going to stop here for a minute if you guys want to quickly note it down. Just wanted to do a quick check if any of you also had some questions at this point. Okay, I'm assuming that. So now, coming to the next part of the workshop, which is the content orientation. Now, first of all, very important to know that for whom are you making these slides, right? A lot of times you'll be making these slides for the top management or for the operational team. Now, why is it necessary to know? Because if you're making slides for top level, they are generally not concerned with the process part, they are concerned with the outcome. And therefore, it is generally advisable not to have your slides very data heavy, but instead just focus on the high level outcomes. But let's say if you're preparing some slides for your operational level team, they will be more interested in understanding how you arrived at that outcome. And in that case, your slide orientation changes drastically. So before you start making the slide, always just check that for whom or who is the target audience for this slide. The second one is that whenever you prepare the agenda, always keep it messy. I'm not sure whether the case prep has started for you guys or not, but messy essentially means mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Why we want to keep the agenda items messy? Because it helps the audience understand how your entire slides is going to be structured. Now, let's say I have the left-hand example as the agenda. Do you think the audience will ever keep a track of where the presentation is actually going? Not really, because you have cluttered it with so many data points that it is almost as good as a slide in itself, right? The second option is much better, where you categorize it into three parts, which is the context, the analysis, and the recommendation. But you can also better it by saying, what is the problem, what is the solution, and what is the roadmap ahead. So always keep some thought in mind while you are designing the agenda of your slides. Now, this is again a common question which is asked, that when should we use tables and when exactly should we use charts? So generally what we have seen is that if the data is more important for you, data is important for the audience to read and understand, it is better that you use a tabular format. This is because tables generally show a lot of precision, and again, tables are great for that. On the other hand, if you want some broad trends to be used or broad trends to be highlighted, you can go ahead and use a chart, because you can very well see, right, that across the years, there's a certain trend for increase in sales. Now, if I look at the table, that is not very intuitive to me. I'll have to read the entire data to understand that. But with a quick visual representation itself, I can look at the chart and see that there has been an increase in sales for 3 years and then a dip in 2012. So always keep this judgment in mind, that should you use a table or chart depending on the precision that is required by the audience. Now, this is again the first example that we covered, and I think someone mentioned that how the chart actually looks cluttered and how 3D chart is actually not working out for the audience. You can actually present this data in a quite simplified manner and still come out with the same level of insights which you wanted to show in the left hand side of the chart. So I hope that the message is clear. And that using some fancy kind of charts is not going to help you. Keep your chart simple but also intuitive. This is a good thumb rule to follow, that always once you have made the slide, go back to your slide and see that is there something which I can remove, which will not affect the insight of the slide, and if you can, then go ahead and remove that particular data point. All right, this is again a trick which is used by the consultants to emphasize something. Now, what do I mean by emphasize? For example, I have a particular data point which I want the audience to look at it specifically. So what you can do is in your entire text, you can possibly highlight that's highlight that data point using this circle, or you can even bolden it, or you can use a different color for doing this. For example, if you look the on charts, right, I have highlighted it in 3 manners. I have used a box to highlight the second bar. I have used a circle to highlight a data point which is 20. And let's say if I want to highlight the entire thing, I have gone ahead and used a different color. So you can very well see that amongst the 4 bars, I want the audience to focus on the 4th one, and that is my insight level data. Again, this is one of the important things to keep in mind, that you can always rank your data. And whenever you rank your data, it helps people to remember. Now, how you can rank your data? It can either be in the increasing or decreasing order of size, importance, or the urgency. You can also use your data in form of geography, in form of date-wise order, or even the alphabetical order. Let's take an example over here. You have a certain slide given to you in form of this chart. Can you really see that, or can you actually derive some insight out of it? Not really, right? Because it is way too cluttered. And in fact, I want the audience to see that, you know, for each particular function, which is CEO, risk, retail, what is the percentage change? So there is no way around for me to, you know, remove this 15.6% or 11.4%. That is necessary for me. So how exactly do I show this data? What we can do is, here I have used the importance as my metric to rank the data. So for me, the importance is that there is a CEO, then comes the retail, corporate, risk, IT, and operation. So I have ranked my data in that order. And you can see that, you know, instead of using these arrows, what I've done is I have made it in one particular line, which makes it very sophisticated and easy to look at. Can any one of you tell me what could be another way to present this data? Like, just to make your life a little easier, how else could you present this chart? Some ideas, folks? Can we present this data using size? If you will see, there is a certain magnitude of order here, right? There is an increase and there is a decrease also. So what you could have done is, instead of showing it in the level of importance, you could have also shown your bar graph in terms of negative to positive or positive to negative. And even within positive to negative, you could have used the increasing or decreasing order here, right? So that is also one way to show this chart. So again, emphasizing my point here that there is really no one way to present the data. You can use your better judgment in explaining the slide. Coming to the executive summary, a lot of you should know that, you know, whenever you have prepared a slide, it is very necessary to also have an executive summary for those people who do not have time to go through the entire slide deck. So when you sit for preparation of executive summary, do you think that this particular executive summary gives you any insight? It does not. It is just listing down a lot of points and it's just making the audience quite confused. So what you should do is bucket your executive summary in correspondence to your agenda items. We already discussed that your agenda item should be MECE. And if you have achieved that MECE level of segmentation in the agenda itself, you can also do it in the executive summary. So just to explain you, the earlier slide, I have bucketed it into 3 major parts, which is, you know, the external environment, the development of the banking sector, and the performance of the competitors, because this is my high level data which I wanted to show. And that's how I have segmented it. And now coming to the slide beautification. Now, Generally, the slide beautification is kept at the last level because this is for those people who have achieved a certain level of proficiency in the three other segments, right? So you really do not have to focus on beautification of slides at this stage. First, get your slides in the right order. Design your slides as per the elements which I talked about. And once you have achieved that, then we can go ahead and then you can go ahead and practice more on the slide beautification aspect. But for the purpose of workshop, what I have done is I have included some data on the slide beautification aspect as well, so that you guys have some sense on it. So how can you really make your slides look better here? First of all, you should see that you have to follow a certain color scheme pattern, right? You cannot have some haphazard colors used because that really makes your slide look way worse. So what you can do as a starting point is you can use the color themes which are provided by PowerPoint. And just to quickly show you that, I have to switch back to my PowerPoint here. Yeah. If you go into the design tab, you will see that there is a certain drop box here which gives you colors. So in that colors, you have a ready-made set of colors available with you. Use those colors, try some permutation combination and see what color scheme works the best for your presentation. And often what we have seen is that once you have done that, then you can also create your own custom slide colors, right? So do that one thing. Okay, just 1 second. Going back to my PowerPoint. Yeah. The second one is that try and move away from the smart art. Again, what I have seen in a lot of candidates is that they often stick to using the smart arts which is provided by the PowerPoint. But the problem in smart art is that it constrains your imagination. Always the kind of design which is given in the smart art, you tend to use that, and therefore you do not think outside the box there. So we have some practice slides for that, which will give you some hands-on experience around it. But if let's say you are not at all well versed with PowerPoint, first start with the smart art and then swiftly move to using the other form of infographics, which we'll talk about. You can also use, some pictures which is available on the internet to jazz up your PPT. The other one is, looking through some of the good publications and see that how those folks actually present their data. I'm not sure whether this link will work or not, but let's just try. Okay, it has. I'll just quickly share the screen. Can you see the browser? Okay. So this is some representation from Bain on how they wanted to present the data. Now this is essentially the beautification of your data. You could see that very well you could present this slide in a normal form of line chart, but what they have done is they have gone ahead and jazzed it up with using some sort of infographics here. Now again, achieving this level of infographic is difficult, but the more you practice on your PowerPoint, the more better you will get at it. There are various sources available on internet where you can get such sort of infographic. So the availability of infographic is not really a challenge. How exactly should you use these infographics is of utmost importance. Just quickly also showing some more examples. Let's say I had to present a slide which just talked about these 3 data points. If I just use the data points in a very normal fashion, it would be very mundane, right? But what I have done is that I've used some sort of infographics here which makes my slide look better. So these are certain some tips which you can probably use for making your slides look much better here. Just coming on to the other front. Yeah. The other one is you can use the Office 365 in a much better way. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the file part, you will see that Office 365 provides you with a lot of themes that you can use for making your slide look better. For example, if I go to the more themes part, okay, I'm not able to see my cursor. Yeah, you can see that there's a segment called more themes. And if you select that segment, you will kind of get some data on how you can use some themes around it. Now let's just try some hands-on experience here, and I think that will be helpful to you guys. What if I wanted to make this kind of shape? How exactly can you do this? So I'll recommend that if you guys have your PowerPoint open here, go to the Insert tab, and you will see that there's just one second. Yeah, there is a tab called Shapes. In the Shapes part, just go and select, let's say, a rectangle over here. I can pull this up, and if I want to make a slide or a shape similar to this, what you can do is you can go to Edit Shape. You can edit the points here, and you can scale up or scale down this particular shape. Right? And similarly, I can use to show this. And then all I have to do is I have to just simply use the other formats. You can again use it from the shapes part, and then I can simply use a circle. Now what I can do from this is I can actually present a certain level of data where I can show that there are two forces around here which is converging at a single point. And if I want to show that kind of presentation of data, I can use the shapes to the best of my ability here. Now, hypothetically, if I wanted to create some dynamic infographics, how can I do that, right? For example, I want to show this infographic here, but I now want to show this for not 90%, but rather for 60%. How exactly can I do this? You will see that the charts are actually a combination of infographics along with the other data which I've used here. For example, this might seem at an overall level an infographic, but this is actually a combination of a chart and shape here. So you can create a donut chart and then jazz it up with these shapes. For example, go to your chart. There's a donut chart which is available here. Select it, and there you will get this part. For example, now if I wanted to change this to 60%, what I could do is I could just simply go to the edit data, make this 60 and this as 40. You will see that I have a dynamic infographic ready with me. So you can also jazz up your PPTs by using some dynamic level of infographic. This is another example. Let's say I wanted to show my bar graph in a cylindrical format. How I can do is I can simply just create a bar graph and then use these cylinders. This is also, again, if I segregate it for you, there is a lid which I created. So I just created a rectangle bars. I use these lids on it. And then simply, I just reposition my bar chart over here. You will see that I have got a much better looking chart here. So these are some ways in which you can, better your PPT. Apart from this, there's also this course link which I have mentioned here. I'm just quickly copy pasting this in the chat for you folks in case any one of you is interested in this. Right. just wanted to quickly check if you guys have any question here. So we had kept this workshop for 1.5 to 2 hours, keeping some slot for the Q&A session. So in case you have any questions around this PowerPoint, maybe you can shoot it off right now. All right. So I don't think so we have any questions here. That's all from my side from the PowerPoint. In case you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I can help you out on that. What we have also done is we have just created a post-class assignment for each one of you just to get some hands-on experience. You can submit that one slide to Nupur or Gurkirat, and they will send across your slides to me, and I can just have a quick look at it to see that if you have really gotten some insights out of this. So that's all from my side, folks. Thanks a lot for attending this workshop. Hope you have attained some insights on how to make a better slide deck, and hope it also helps you in your placement process.